Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and today I am joined by Captain Iain Flockhart. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you.
Well, you have embarked on a new adventure. You have now started up the Yacht Crew Mentor.
Yes, I started putting this together last year, but didn't really have time to do much about it. But I've just kind of completely rebuilt the website, made it hopefully completely mobile friendly this time. So I'm putting a lot more effort into this at the moment. So I'm kind of like relaunching something that was launched, but I really hadn't done anything with it. So this is a bit more of a proper kickoff with it now.
Well, in order for people to understand why you are able to offer this service, I think it is integral to speak about your past history. So, where are you from and how did you get into yachting and what have you done in your career?
Okay, very briefly. I kind of fell into yachting professionally. Rewind back to when I was about 16, 17 years old, left school, bummed around a bit. School really wasn't for me. Didn't like the idea of tertiary education beyond school. So bummed around for a year and then suddenly realised no one would give me a job because I deliberately hadn't done very well at school. It's not that I'm thick, because I'm not, but I didn't fit in with the whole thing. I wasn't rebellious. I didn't cause any trouble, but it just wasn't for me. So after about a year of hanging around, enjoying what was a blissfully nice summer in Scotland that year, 1980, I think it was, 80, 81, I realised that no one was going to give me a job. So I had to go out and invent a source of income for myself. So I started a company, which I thought was just going to be a little bit of a cottage industry. And within a couple of years, I was employing 36 people. So I'd accrued enough funds to buy my first yacht at the time I was about 20, I think I was when I bought it. Spent best part of 2 years completely rebuilding it. She was an old wooden ketch, teak and mahogany, built here up in Scotland. So I pulled her apart completely rebuilt her, spent way more money than I ever should have done because I never realised it in the long run. And I taught myself to sail around the west coast of Scotland and Ireland. And then I had aspirations to do bigger and better things on boats. So I very foolishly bought a second larger boat while I still had the first one. Went through the same process with that because she needed a complete refit as well. So when I did the refit, I had her coded to MCA Category 0, which for those that don't know means we were unrestricted in where we were able to go as a charter vessel because the boat was so stable, she was so well found and well equipped that we were legally permitted to charter. You know, if we wanted to go up to down to Antarctica, up to the Arctic, whatever. We didn't actually do those things, sadly, but we were legally allowed to do them. So basically, I had a very, very robust sailing boat that I could go anywhere in the world with on charter. OSHA could do ocean passage charters, which is what I actually did. So did a few ocean passage charters, loads of stuff with novice crew, many Atlantic crossings with novice crew. And eventually, it was getting harder and harder to get business. I was over in Antigua, and I sort of realised I was running out of money because the other yacht was still back in Scotland. You know, just eating all my money away, the two of them together. Figured out I needed to get some income again, and I was in English Harbour in Antigua, and all these big boats, which I suppose by today's standards, some of them aren't very big now. And I thought, well, maybe I need to make this something more of a profession rather than doing it on the kind of ad hoc way that I was, because I was purely a recreational sailor. I went cruising, and just thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing. So needs must, decided that this might be the way forward. Came back to the UK, went down to your Warsash, got my Master 3000. That was 20 years ago. Since then, moved over to motorboats, which was a very deliberate choice for a number of reasons. And I've had my ups and downs in the industry. I've worked on a number of boats. I've got a very high tolerance for very challenging roles. So I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East and Turkey and some of the places that are not very great for yachting, really. That's it, basically. That's kind of how I came to be where I am as a yacht captain. And I've always mentored people throughout my career, not just in yachting, but before yachting. Even when I was very young, sounds a bit arrogant, but I was mentoring people when I was young, because I was quite successful at the time, and I was in a position to be able to help people. So I've been doing it all my life, especially in yachting, and I've decided to sort of formalize it into something more of a business now.
So why do people need mentoring? What is the importance of mentoring, especially when you're first entering into the industry?
I think that mentoring is tremendously valuable in any walk of life or industry, because most people need help. Um, they very often don't realize that they need help, and they very often don't realize how much help that they need just to steer them in the right direction. Seafaring in general is an incredibly unique industry. Step into the yachting sector and you've just walked into a completely different world altogether in terms of how remarkably unique it is. It brings with it a completely unique and extensive set of challenges. And one of the issues is the sheer numbers of very young people that are coming into the industry. When I say very young, I'm talking 20, younger by standards. And with no disrespect to any of them, they really don't know anything about anything. They have no proper work experience, most of them at that age, and they just don't have any general life experience. And they're coming into this remarkably unique industry with so many pitfalls and challenges ahead of them, and a lot of them are going to get lost along the way. So if you have an opportunity to mentor these people and help them in the right direction from an early age, they've got a lot less chance of falling into these pitfalls in their early years, but they're going to be an awful lot better prepared as their careers progress as well. So it's a hugely important process.
Do you find that those that are entering the industry now are a lot different than those that were entering the industry, say, for example, 20 years ago?
This is a question that comes up pretty much every time I do one of these sessions, and the answer is a big, fat, definitive yes. There's no question about it. The way that the younger people think now, the attitude, the mentality, very, very different from how yachting was 20 years ago. I think one of the issues is that yachting used to be an industry where the majority of people in it were much more sort of commensurate professional seafarers. There's an awful lot of people coming into yachting now on a relatively short-term, lifespan, intentionally from the beginning, which I personally think is not good for the industry at all. If they're lucky enough to get a job and get a good few years working solidly in the industry, they can walk away with, in comparison to their peers, they can walk away with very substantial amounts of money. I think it's not great for the industry. The industry is so unique that my personal feeling is on it that everyone that's coming into the industry should be coming into it pretty career focused. Now, accepted some people, particularly women, because they are perhaps more interested in starting families, etc. They will have an exit timeline planned out. That's fine. So, you come into yachting at 19, 20, you can still walk away very comfortable if you're smart, by the time you're sort of in your late 20s to 30 and still opportunity for starting a family, etc. But I think in most cases, the industry benefits an awful lot more from people that come into the industry as consummate long-term professional seafarers.
Do you think that the sea schools have something to do with that nowadays? Because in order for them to make money, the more people that come through their doors, the better off they are. So some of the attitudes coming out is that they are going to be sitting on the deck of a yacht sipping cocktails like the owners, when in reality, you're probably going to be scrubbing the head with a toothbrush.
I think it depends an awful lot on particular training establishments. I was in Mallorca a couple of months ago and spent some time with an establishment over there that seemed to have, I think, a very good grounded philosophy on the way that they do things. So I think it really it depends very much on the ethos of the establishment. Look, the demand's always going to be there, and from a purely business perspective, they'd be fools not to service that demand. I think some are clearly better than others. Yes, some will just take your money, but others, in particular the one I spoke to recently, you know, I think their philosophy was very good. They, you know, they are servicing a demand, but they seem to be doing it in a very professional way. The people are going to come regardless. It doesn't matter who the training establishments are, where they are, what they charge. There's a need to be met, and you know, businesses will always rise to meet that need. I think it's prudent, and I would say beholden upon them. Certainly, if I ran such a training establishment, I'd be putting a tremendous amount of effort into making sure that, you know, the candidates' eyes are wide open, even when they're coming in at the early stages to do, you know, for example, the RYA level of courses before they even get into the much higher MCA ones. And then there's all the, when you talk about training, you should probably break it down into two separate fields, really, because there's the mandatory training, which is your deck and engineering training, RYA, move on to MCA, and then there's all your kind of more vocational stuff, all the interior, the stewardess and stuff, which of course is not required at all. It's just something that has popped up as, I suspect, a very healthy industry in its own right, even though it's not, you know, it's not mandatory in any way. But I think it makes a lot of sense for these people, if for no reason other than to, you know, to build their own reputations, to be there to guide and mentor their candidates and students from a very early stage. To me, it just makes total business sense. It comes as part and parcel of the job, I think. So obviously, I don't have tremendously wide experience of a vast number of these establishments, but I'm sure some are better than others. But it makes total sense for me that they should get on board with this, because it's going to do them a lot of good in their reputations. And also, they're going to, you know, their candidates, their students are going to walk away better equipped to deal with what lies ahead of them. So for me, it's a no-brainer. That's what they should be doing. And I'm sure some of them do it, you know, to greater or lesser degrees.
Yeah. Well, tell me about this website. What can people expect when they go to it?
On the website, basically, we offer two fundamental types of services. The first is, and this is something where everybody needs help, I would say, absolutely everybody, getting your CV right. Your CV is so critically important. If you don't have a good CV, you ain't going to get over the first hurdle. It's that simple. People make so many mistakes on CVs in general, particularly in yachting. There's so many things to look for because of the uniqueness of the industry. I offer a service where I will, you know, completely pull apart people's CVs for them, highlight the various points, explain why to them that X is wrong, that Y is wrong. There's a lot of things that people get wrong in their CVs that are remarkably subtle. Things that, you know, even when you say to you know, to some of the clients help, and they're like, "What, are you serious?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm serious." You're an employer, start of the season, you've got 6-7 new crew to hire because you've pared down over the winter time. You could have 100 CVs in front of you as a captain, and it's amazing how very small things that candidate X, Y, and Z think nothing of will completely hack off a person who's got to look at them all like, why are they doing this? Because they just see it as a barrier that they have put in front of the person that they're trying to impress to do a job. Now, there's a lot of people out there offering CV services at the moment, but I think what we're doing is, because of my extensive experience as a captain. I mean, I've been captain 3,000 tons for over 20 years, but because of my business background as well, I can look at things a little bit from a different perspective. But the focus is primarily on the yachting industry. And there are so many of these little subtle things, because I know, because I've looked at thousands of CVs in my side, and I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? And people they're in a hurry, they're impatient, and your CV can end up in the shredder for the tiniest little infraction. And you do not want that to happen. And you need somebody, whether it's me or someone with similar experience to me, but you need somebody with a tremendous amount of experience in this industry to look at your CV in such detail and so objectively to be able to find every single one of the faults with it as it stands, and then to work on the process of improving it. The layout, the language, the tone, the psychology of it. It's all very, very important. There's something that's enormously worrying, and I've had a lot of feedback from major crew agencies that I've got almost lifelong in the industry relationships with, who have verified this point, that there's been a trend in recent years to make CVs look more modern and funky and try and make them stand out. Fatal mistake, in my opinion. Absolutely fatal mistake. So many people are doing it though, and as far as I see it, this is a major barrier that you're putting in front of somebody who is a potential employer. The reason for it is, here's an analogy. If you're one of these captains, I'm not, but if you are one who leaves all your accounts to the end of the month, and let's just say you've got 625 receipts in front of you, the date, the VAT number, the amount, the name of the business is going to be on a different place, not on every single one of them, but on an awful lot of them. So you pick up the receipt, and instead of just going bum, 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 and getting the pertinent detail off it, you go, oh, where's the VAT number? Where's the date? Yeah. Imagine that with a CV. When someone picks it up, where's this? Where's this bit of it? Why is it not where it should be? Yeah. Yeah. That's the analogy. And when you've got so many to look at, it can become, everyone's under pressure. Everyone's impatient these days generally. Did a bit of research on this. Apparently across all industries, do you know what the average time that someone looks at a CV, recruiter in your hand, in the first instance?
I would say about 30 seconds.
10 seconds, under 10 seconds, under 10 seconds. Okay, obviously if you get over the first hurdle, then they'll be looking at it in more detail. Across all industries, not just yachting, apparently less than 10 seconds is the amount of time. So you've got to make the right impact on that seconds. I want to see this, and this. Well, why is it not there? That's what it should be. So these trendy layouts that people are going for, to my mind, is a absolutely fatal error. So that's one of the things we do with CVs. We do it in a couple of different ways. There's a couple of different packages that we offer on it. If you actually want me to physically build the entire thing from start, I'll do that for you. Or if you just want me to review it backwards and forwards so we get it right, I'll do that. The second thing is a series of mentoring packages, which in terms of packages, I've aimed it at different levels in the industry. So I've got a package for people that are completely new to the industry, one for people that have kind of done a season, one for people that are a little bit more advanced, one for senior crew. I've also done one which is quite interesting. I've put together a package which I call the parental package. So the idea of this is you've got your 18-year-old daughter who's rushing off to go join the yachting industry, and you may, as parents, you may justifiably have some concerns about this. So I've put together a special package where initially the consultation is with the parent or parents, so they can talk to me firstly in a confidential way about what their concerns are, and then we bring the candidate in to the conversation, probably at a separate time, and we start finding out, what are their goals, where do they want to get to, open their eyes a bit, and then we work on development. So that, for example, that would run over 12 months. So the parents can, we have scheduled points in it where, at whatever certain point in time they can get back to me in contact. But they can also contact me at any time they want. If their daughter's away in such and such a place, not easy to find, they can call me and say, right, look, this is what's going on. You know, can we get some advice? And then, you know, Janie will call you. And so that's another thing that I've been doing. And then again, there's a review at the end of the thing.
That's an interesting concept, actually. I don't think, you know, I'm pretty sure that there is not a single person out there doing that.
I think it's unique, but it's, you know, this has come from my experience. You know, I don't have children of my own, but I can imagine, you know, I had a client contact me last year, and, you know, again, exactly this 18-year-old girl. She seems quite smart, but, you know, she wanted to disappear off to, you know, the other side of the world. To get involved in yachting, and you know, there was cause for concern from a mother. So, you know, this is you know, just one example of, you know, of a client that I've had doing this. So I think it's unique, and I think it's quite important. And I think if people were to get to know about it, I think there might be quite a lot of parents out there that would be interested in this, because, you know, I mean, you have numerous children, I know. You know, can you imagine if, you know, you were over in Canada and your daughter says to you, right, I'm off to Antibes, you know, the day after my 18th birthday, I'm getting into the yachting industry. You know, I would imagine you'd be a little bit concerned about it.
Not really. Actually, I'm one of those mothers that would probably pack the luggage for her, smile and wave, and then have a party. But, you know, I'm different that way.
Yeah, point though, a lot of parents would be very, very concerned about it.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole list of packages that we offer. You know, the prices vary, and the pricing's been done just on the basis of at certain points in the career. You know, it's probably going to take more of my time to mentor somebody through, you know, a 12-month period. Another thing that I do is we can just do sessions. If you want to just sit down and, you know, talk to me in a platform like this, Skype, Zoom, whatever. You know, for an hour, then we can do that. It might just be basic generic mentoring, but I've also got a sort of help section. You know, you could be on a boat and there's X, Y, and Z going on board, and, you know, you're not comfortable with this at all. So you may not know who to turn to. You're a junior crew member. You know, the problem might be with your head of department. You don't want to go over them to the captain. The problem might be with the captain. It could be contractual, harassment, whatever. And you just need someone to talk to get some advice on how to deal with a given situation on board. So we've put that in there. You know, we're trying to keep it all as cost effective as possible. You know, we want to help people. You know, I've got this to a point now where I need to start getting some money back out of it, because I've been mentoring people pro bono all my life. I need to, you know, I've put so much into it. I've got to start getting something out of it now. But we want it all to be accessible to everybody. So that's basically what the two categories that it falls into at the moment. You get CV services, mentoring services packages. There's a link on there for pro bono mentoring. If I basically, I will frequently approach people. I will go to them and say, I think you need help. Would you like some help? You'll get it free of charge. So I've put a thing on there. If people think, you know, for some reason they're deserved of some of this for free, then they can fill in a little form, and I'll take a look at it. You know, if they're, I'm very much in support of the underdog. So the people that I mentor pro bono are usually from odd or unusual places, or, you know, perhaps otherwise in some way that they're not likely to get on very well in yachting without a bit of help. You know, so if you come from a well-to-do family and, you know, you're fit and attractive and you've got everything going for you, you're not likely to get much help from me for free.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, I've got to say the website looks absolutely stunning, and it is really easy to navigate. So, you know, it's got everything up there.
So I'm glad to hear that.
By yourself, really?
And I do everything that I do entirely on my own. You know, my website, my video, everything. I don't have anybody helping me. I do everything completely on my own.
That is amazing. I have to be honest. You know, when I started my business and trying to learn everything I needed in the tech world, it was a difficult road. I think the older we get, it's harder to learn some of this stuff, but you've got to do it. I was lucky. I had someone that did my website for me, but So kudos to you for taking that step.
One of the things I've just done in a major revamp, I've made it hopefully completely mobile friendly now. I hadn't got the mobile side of it right initially, which is the principal reason why I didn't market this over the last almost year since I set it up, because I built it on desktop and I hadn't done it in a way that it was mobile friendly, which of course was a bit of a schoolboy error on my part, given that most of our audience are going to likely to be on mobile. So hopefully it's pretty much spot on mobile now. And I know something we'll discuss at a later point, but I have actually built a completely separate standalone mobile app as well, which will be coming out very soon as well.
Well, and we're excited about that, we have to say, because, well, Yachting International Radio is on that.
Indeed.
So, well, you know what? I mean, best of luck, because everything that you said, it makes complete sense. And the fact that you've got this parental mentoring as well, absolutely great idea for, most parents that are normal, unlike me. But I think that you're going to do well, and it's a need. It definitely is a need in the industry, especially with the crew that are coming in now at the get-go.
It is a need, but as we said near the start there, the big concern is that people they haven't got a clue how much help they need. They really don't. There's so much naivety. There's so much misinformation. On the subject of information, one of the other features on the site, I've basically, there's a free resources page where you can go. And for example, I've got, every active M notice is currently on there at the moment. I've got the MAIB safety digests, 10 years worth of them on there. There's all sorts of various things on there, links to useful documents, and that will be added to probably quite extensively as the site progresses. There's podcasts and videos, which include things that kind of likes of what we're doing at the moment. Various videos, I'm starting to do more explainer videos, and just little free resources that I'll put up there, and the blog section as well. Where we talk about X, Y, and Z, an Instagram feed, which I've only just started using Instagram a couple of days ago, so that's a bit sparse at the moment, but I'll be getting on the ball with that. And there's some testimonials from some clients as well, which are all entirely genuine, and anyone that's not quite sure about it, it's worth having a read to see what I've done for other people already. That's about it, really.
It does sound absolutely amazing, and it looks amazing, and I can't wait until you come back again next time, because we are going to have you back when you do launch the app, and we can talk about that at that time.
That'll be very soon.
Yeah, well, we're excited about that. So, Iain, I want to say thank you very much for your time, and everyone out there, I will provide the links of how to get onto Iain's website and the mentoring and find out all about it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Right, once again, you've been watching another edition of Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs. Thank you very much to Iain Flockhart from the Yacht Crew Mentor. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next time.